Well, first of all, missed you guys. Genuinely hope everyone had a great offseason. There is something that I wanted to address, and I only plan on addressing it once, so.
The room went silent. Not the kind of silence you get when someone's thinking, not the awkward pause between questions. This was the kind of silence that happens when someone's about to say something they can't take back. Paige Bueckers sat in front of a wall of cameras, reporters leaning forward, phones recording, every major sports outlet waiting. And before anyone could even ask a question, they all flew to Dallas to ask. She spoke first. I'm only going to say this once. That's how you know something's about to go down. That's how you know the script just got flipped. Because in professional sports, players don't control the press conference. The media does. They ask, athletes answer. That's the game. But Paige Bueckers, she just broke the rules. And what happened in the next 60 seconds didn't just shut down one press conference. It redefined how the entire WNBA handles fame, relationships, and invasive questions that come with being the face of a league that's exploding into mainstream culture. But here's what makes this story absolutely wild. This wasn't supposed to be Paige's moment at all. See, the Dallas Wings were hosting Media Day. Standard stuff. Players talk about training camp, team chemistry, championship goals. Boring, safe, predictable. The Wings were coming off a 10-win disaster season. They had the worst record in basketball. They needed a redemption story. Instead, they got media firestorm. Because 24 hours earlier, at Fudd's introductory press conference, the one where she's supposed to talk about being the number 1 overall pick, about her shooting stroke, about joining a franchise trying to rebuild, a reporter asked her about Paige. Not about basketball, about their relationship. The Wings PR team jumped in immediately. Shut it down. Hard stop. No comment. Next question. Now, if you know anything about how the internet works, you know exactly what happened next. That shutdown didn't kill the story. It fed it. It weaponized it. It turned a quiet question into a screaming headline. Twitter exploded. Reddit threads went nuclear. Sports talk shows started asking, did Paige Bueckers tamper with the draft? Did she influence Dallas to pick her girlfriend? Is this a conflict of interest? Is this even allowed? And just like that, before Fudd had even touched the WNBA basketball, her career was being questioned. Her merit was being doubted. Her talent was being reduced to a footnote in someone else's love life. That's the world Paige walked into on Monday morning. She could have stayed quiet, let the team handle it, let the news cycle move on. That's what most players do. That's the safe play. But Paige Bueckers isn't most players. She sat down in front of those cameras, and she didn't wait. Didn't let them set the tone. Didn't let them frame the narrative. She took control. And in 60 seconds, maybe less, she said everything that needed to be said, drew a line in the sand that no one could cross, and walked out of that room leaving absolutely nothing left to talk about. But here's the thing nobody's really discussing. This moment, it wasn't just about defending a relationship. It wasn't just about shutting down nosy reporters. It was about something way bigger. Because Paige Bueckers is standing at the intersection of 3 massive cultural moments happening in women's sports right now. First, the WNBA is having its biggest year in history. Caitlin Clark, sold out arenas, record TV ratings. Athletes are becoming celebrities, not just players. Second, the media has finally started treating women's basketball like it matters. But that means they're also treating it like the NBA. And in the NBA, your personal life isn't personal. It's content. Third, Paige and Azzy aren't just good. They're generational. 2 of the most famous college basketball players ever. Both on the same team. Both at the peak of their powers. Both about to play together in the pros for the first time since UConn. That's a perfect storm. And the question everyone's been whispering since draft night finally got loud enough that Paige had to answer it. So what did she actually say? How did she shut down an entire media cycle in 60 seconds? And why are veteran players, coaches, and sports PR experts calling it one of the most masterful press conference performances they've ever seen? We're about to break it all down, word by word, line by line, because this wasn't just a clapback. This was a statement, a boundary, a declaration. This was Paige Bueckers telling the world exactly who she is, and exactly what she's not going to tolerate. Let's rewind. Here's exactly what Paige Bueckers said. And I mean word for word, because every single sentence was deliberate, calculated, built to shut down one conversation and redirect to another. She started calm, steady, looking directly into the cameras. Our personal relationship is nobody's business but our own. Simple, clean, undeniable. But she didn't stop there, because that's the part everyone expected. That's the easy answer. The PR-approved, safe, boring response that gives the media exactly what they want. A soundbite and nothing else. Paige kept going. We've never let anything off the court follow us onto it. And we never will. Now she's not just defending her privacy. She's establishing credibility. She's saying, you can ask all you want, but it won't change how we play. And that's smart, because the media wasn't just being nosy. They were planting doubt. They were suggesting that emotions, relationships, drama would somehow bleed into the game. That Dallas made a basketball decision based on feelings instead of talent. Paige saw that narrative forming, and she killed it. But here's where it gets really good, because she could have stopped there. She could have said her piece, protected herself, and moved on. Most people would have. Most people would have made it about them. But Paige Bueckers isn't most people. She pivoted hard, and she put the spotlight exactly where it should have been from the beginning, on Azzi Fudd. Azzi earned that #1 pick. That's the line that made reporters sit back. That's the line that shifted the entire energy in the room. Because now Paige isn't defending herself anymore. She's defending Azzi. She's going on the offensive for someone else. She kept going. This has nothing to do with me. It has everything to do with Azzi's resilience, her strength, and the career year she put together at UConn. Listen to the word choice. Resilience, strength, career year. She's not asking people to believe Azzi deserves to be there. She's stating facts. She's reminding everyone what they conveniently forgot while they were busy writing tabloid headlines. And then came the knockout punch. Azzi is her own great individual person, and she should be celebrated as such. Boom. Mic drop. Done. Over. That's not just a statement. That's a rebuke. A challenge. A demand. Paige didn't just answer question. She reframed the entire conversation. She told the media, you're asking the wrong questions. You're disrespecting the wrong person. And I'm not playing along. And then, this is the part that's so brilliant. She made it clear this was the last time she'd address it. I understand you all have jobs to do, but the only questions I'm answering from here on out are about basketball. Translation? I gave you what you needed. I said what needed to be said. Now leave us alone and let us play. Sports PR professionals are still talking about this, because what Paige did is textbook crisis communication, but she did it without a script, without a team of publicists feeding her lines. She took control, set boundaries, protected her teammate, and closed the door, all in about 60 seconds. But here's what's fascinating. The media couldn't argue. They couldn't push back, because everything Paige said was objectively true. Let's talk numbers for a second. Real basketball, because that's what got lost in all the noise. Azzi Fudd just finished her senior season at UConn shooting 44% from three-point range. 44%. That's elite. That's NBA-level efficiency. She averaged 18 points per game, led one of the best teams in college basketball, and did it all while recovering from injuries that derailed her previous seasons. ESPN had Azzi Fudd mocked as a top 3 pick before the Wings were even in the conversation. Bleacher Report had her going first overall in multiple mock drafts. Scouts called her one of the best pure shooters to come out of college in years. This wasn't a charity pick. This wasn't favoritism. This was Dallas recognizing exactly what they needed. Because here's the thing about the Wings roster. They're loaded with ball-dominant guards. Paige Bueckers needs the ball in her hands. Arike Ogunbowale, same. She's one of the most dynamic scorers in the league. But she operates best with the ball. What do you need when you have 2 elite on-ball creators? You need someone who doesn't need the ball to be deadly. You need someone who can stand in the corner, catch a pass, and make defenses pay before they can even react. You need a sniper. And that's exactly what Azzi Fudd is. She's not just talented. She's a perfect fit. The perfect complement. The missing piece that turned the lottery team into a legitimate playoff contender. The basketball case for Azzi going number one isn't just strong, it's obvious. So why did this become such a massive story? Why did this press conference feel like a cultural moment and not just another media day soundbite? Because this isn't really about Paige and Azzi. It's about what happens when women athletes finally get famous enough that their personal lives become public property. And that's where this story gets complicated. Let's be honest about something. This exact situation has happened in the WNBA before, multiple times, and nobody said a word. DeWanna Bonner and Alyssa Thomas are engaged. They play together on the Phoenix Mercury, both all-stars, both incredible players, both in a very public relationship. When they became teammates, there were no headlines, no press conference controversy, no reporters demanding to know if their relationship influenced roster decisions. Courtney Vandersloot and Allie Quigley played together on Chicago Sky for years. Married, championship winners. One of the most successful on-court partnerships in league history. Again, no scandal. No questions about conflicts of interest. No media frenzy. So what's different now? Why did Paige and Azzi get the interrogation treatment when others didn't? The answer is uncomfortable, but it's true. Paige Bueckers is too famous. She's not just a WNBA player. She's a cultural icon. She's a social media phenomenon. She has millions of followers. She has endorsement deals that rival NBA stars. She was on magazine covers before she ever played a professional game. And when you're that famous, your life stops being your own. Everything becomes content. Everything becomes a story. Everything gets dissected, analyzed, turned into clickbait. That's the deal male athletes have been living with for decades. LeBron James can't go to dinner without it becoming a free agency rumor. Tom Brady's marriage was tabloid fodder for years. Every relationship, every friendship, every decision gets scrutinized. Women's sports never had that problem. Not because female athletes had more privacy, but because nobody cared enough to invade it. Until now, the WNBA is exploding. Ratings are up. Arenas are selling out. Caitlin Clark's rookie season brought millions of new fans. Angel Reese, Cameron Brink, Paige Bueckers. These names are reaching people who've never watched women's basketball in their lives. The league is finally getting the attention it deserves. But attention is a double-edged sword, because with mainstream fame comes mainstream scrutiny. With celebrity status comes tabloid culture. With millions of fans comes millions of opinions, and not all of them are about basketball. Paige Bueckers is standing at the center of that shift. She's the first WNBA player who's famous enough that her personal life gets treated like entertainment news. She's the first player who has to navigate the same invasive media circus that's been chasing male athletes for generations. And what happened at that press conference wasn't just about protecting her relationship. It was about establishing boundaries in a league that's never had to deal with this level of fame before. Think about it. When reporters asked about Paige and Azzi's relationship, they weren't asking basketball questions. They were asking TMZ questions. They were treating WNBA Media Day like a celebrity gossip column. And here's the wild part. Some people are calling that progress. Because for decades, women athletes fought to be taken seriously. They fought for coverage. They fought for respect. They fought to be seen as more than just participants, as actual stars. Now they're stars. Real ones. The kind that sell out arenas and break the internet. But being a star means your privacy gets invaded. It means reporters ask questions that have nothing to do with your job. It means your relationships, your friendships, your personal choices become public debate. Is that fair? Absolutely not. Is that the reality of fame in 2026? Unfortunately, yes. So Paige had a choice. She could have played along, given vague answers, let the media run wild with speculation, let the story drag on for weeks, maybe months, becoming a distraction that follows her and Azzi all season. Or she could do exactly what she did, shut it down completely, set the terms, and make it crystal clear that her personal life is off limits. She chose the second option, and she executed it perfectly. But here's what's really interesting. Paige didn't just protect herself. She protected the entire team. She protected Azzi from having to answer those questions over and over. She protected the Wings from becoming a circus instead of a basketball team. And she did it by being direct, unapologetic, and unmovable. Sports psychologists talk about this all the time. How distractions derail teams. How off-court drama bleeds into performance. How locker rooms fall apart when players can't focus on the game. Paige recognized the threat, and she eliminated it. One statement. One press conference. Done. Now here's where the story takes another turn. Because while Paige was drawing boundaries with the media, something else was happening in the background. The basketball world was waking up to what Dallas just built. See, everyone was so focused on the relationship drama that they missed the actual story. The Wings didn't just draft Arike Fudd. They constructed a super team. Think about the roster for a second. Paige Bueckers, reigning Rookie of the Year, one of the most dynamic playmakers in the league. Arike Ogunbowale, a walking bucket, one of the best scorers in WNBA history. And now Arike Fudd, an elite three-point shooter who spaces the floor like few players can. That's not just talent. That's fit. That's strategy. That's three players whose games complement each other perfectly. Defenses can't double Paige without leaving Arike wide open. They can't focus on Arike without giving Paige driving lanes. They can't pack the paint without surrendering open threes. It's a nightmare matchup for every team in the league. And the Wings didn't stumble into this. They planned it. They built it. They made the smart basketball decision. And it just happened to reunite two players who have chemistry on and off the court. But now, because of one press conference, because of 60 seconds of Paige Bueckers refusing to let the narrative spiral out of control, the conversation is finally shifting back to where it belongs. Basketball. Except there's one more layer to this story that nobody saw coming. The reaction was immediate. Within minutes of Paige's statement, social media erupted, not with gossip, not with speculation, with respect. Former players started tweeting. Analysts posted breakdowns. Even people who've been fueling the drama suddenly pivoted. That's how you handle business. Sue Bird. Leadership before the season even starts. Watch and learn. Candace Parker. Paige Bueckers just gave a masterclass in controlling your narrative. A ESPN columnist. The same media that had been salivating over the controversy suddenly had nothing left to say because Paige hadn't given them wiggle room. She hadn't left gaps for interpretation. She hadn't been vague or political. She'd been final. And the thing about finality? It kills stories. It ends cycles. It removes oxygen from the fire. By Tuesday morning, the headlines had completely changed. Wings build super team around Bueckers and Fudd. Dallas becomes instant contender with Arike Fudd edition. Can anyone stop the Wings' big three? The narrative shifted from tabloid drama to legitimate basketball analysis. Exactly what Paige intended. But here's what makes this even more fascinating. The media wasn't the only audience Paige was talking to in that press conference. She was talking to Arike. She was talking to her teammates. She was talking to the front office. And most importantly, she was talking to every young WNBA player watching who will eventually have to navigate fame, privacy, and pressure in a league that's growing faster than anyone predicted. Paige just wrote the blueprint. But to really understand the weight of that moment, to understand why Paige felt she had to be the one to say something, you have to go back to UConn, back to where this whole story started. Because Paige Bueckers and Arike Fudd weren't just college teammates. They were the crown jewels of the most famous women's basketball program in history. UConn doesn't just produce good players. It produces legends. Diana Taurasi, Maya Moore, Breanna Stewart, Sue Bird. The list reads like a Hall of Fame ballot. When Paige committed to UConn, she was called the best recruit in program history. The hype was suffocating. The expectations were impossible. And she delivered. National Player of the Year as a freshman. Highlight reels that broke the internet. A playing style so smooth, so effortless, that even NBA players were reposting her clips. Then Arike arrived. Another five-star recruit. Another generational talent. The best shooter anyone had seen in years. Together, they were supposed to dominate college basketball for 4 years. Win multiple championships. Rewrite record books. But injuries got in the way. Arike missed significant time. Paige dealt with her own setbacks. The dynasty never fully materialized not because of lack of talent, but because bodies break down and timing isn't always perfect. Still, when they were on the court together, magic, they moved like they shared a brain. Paige would drive, collapse the defense, kick it out to Azzi in the corner, swish, over and over. Off the court, they were inseparable. Every team photo, every practice, every bus ride. The UConn fan base loved them, not just as players, but as people, as friends, as the future of the program. And when whispers started that they might be more than friends, the fan base didn't care. They celebrated it. Because UConn fans had watched these two grow up in real time. They'd seen the work, the dedication, the love for the game. So when Paige quietly confirmed their relationship during the 2025 draft process, it wasn't scandalous. It was beautiful. Two people who'd been through everything together. Injuries, losses, pressure, scrutiny. Finding something real in the middle of it all. But then they separated. Paige went pro. Azzi stayed for one more year at UConn. Long distance, different worlds. One in the WNBA grind, the other finishing college. And they went silent about it. No posts, no updates, no confirmation that they were even still together. For a full year, the world didn't know. Paige put her head down and went to work. Rookie of the Year campaign, carried a struggling Wings team, became the face of the franchise overnight. Azzi stayed at UConn and had the best season of her life. 44% from three, team leader, senior year excellence. They did it separately, independently, proving they didn't need each other to succeed. And that's the part people keep missing. When Dallas drafted Azzi first overall, the assumption was that it was about reuniting a couple, about keeping Paige happy, about romance over basketball. But the truth is the exact opposite. Paige and Azzi had just spent an entire year proving they could thrive apart. They both reached the pinnacle of their respective levels. Paige in the pros, Azzi in college. They had nothing left to prove to each other. So when they became teammates again, it wasn't about feelings. It was about winning. Because here's something nobody's really talked about yet. Paige Bueckers didn't win a championship at UConn. Neither did Azzi. For two players with that much talent, that much hype, that much expectation, that's unfinished business. And now they have a chance to run it back. Not in college, in the WNBA, on the biggest stage, with everything on the line. The pressure isn't just about being in a relationship while being teammates. It's about being two of the most hyped players in basketball history who still haven't won the big one. That's the real story. That's the weight Paige was carrying when she walked into that press conference. Because she knew that if they stumbled, if the Wings struggled, if the chemistry didn't work, people wouldn't blame the roster. They wouldn't blame the coaching. They wouldn't blame injuries or bad luck. They'd blame the relationship. They'd say Paige was distracted. They'd say Azzi didn't deserve to be there. They'd say Dallas made an emotional decision instead of a basketball one. Paige saw that narrative forming before the season even started, and she killed it. But killing a narrative and proving it wrong are two different things. Now comes the hard part. Now they actually have to play, and the entire basketball world is watching. Opening night is 3 weeks away. That's all the time Paige and Azzi have to prove that this wasn't a mistake, that the Wings didn't draft with their hearts instead of their heads. That two people in a relationship can be elite professional teammates without it becoming a problem. 3 weeks to silence every doubter. And trust me, there are doubters. Because while Paige's press conference killed the tabloid story, it didn't eliminate the basketball questions. It didn't erase the skepticism. Scroll through any WNBA forum right now. Check the comment sections. Listen to sports radio. You'll hear the same concerns over and over. Can they really separate personal feelings from basketball decisions? What happens when one of them has a bad game and the other doesn't pass them the ball? What happens if the Wings lose and people blame their relationship? What happens if they break up mid-season? These aren't malicious questions. They're legitimate concerns about chemistry, ego, and the psychological complexity of mixing professional and personal relationships at the highest level of competition. And here's the brutal truth. Playing together in the WNBA is nothing like playing together at UConn. In college, you're surrounded by teammates who are still figuring out their games. The competition level is lower. The pressure is different. You can dominate through pure talent. In the WNBA, everyone's talented. Everyone's been the best player on their team. Everyone's fighting for minutes, for shots, for survival. The margins are razor thin. And when you add the emotional complexity of a romantic relationship into that pressure cooker, things can go sideways fast. Sports psychologists have studied this. Teams with interpersonal relationships between players face unique challenges. Communication becomes complicated. Conflicts that would normally stay on the court can follow you home. Performance criticism can feel like personal criticism. One study found that romantic relationships between teammates can actually enhance performance, but only if both players have extreme emotional intelligence and the ability to compartmentalize. The moment emotions bleed between personal and professional, everything falls apart. So the question isn't whether Paige and Azzi are talented enough to succeed. The question is whether they're mature enough to handle what comes next. Because here's what nobody's prepared them for. The WNBA is ruthless. It's not college. There's no 4-year grace period. There's no rebuilding patience. If you don't produce immediately, you get benched. If you don't win, coaches get fired. If chemistry issues derail a season, front offices blow up rosters. The Wings invested the #1 overall pick in Azzi Fudd. They're paying Paige Bueckers like a franchise cornerstone. They're building their entire future around this partnership working. If it doesn't, heads will roll. And the pressure isn't just on them. It's on the entire organization. Dallas Wings head coach Latricia Trammell was asked about the Paige-Azzi dynamic during her own media availability. She smiled, stayed diplomatic, said all the right things about focusing on basketball, but you could see it in her eyes. The awareness, the concern, because she knows that if this team underperforms, if the locker room becomes toxic, if the relationship becomes a distraction, she's the one who'll take the fall. General Manager Jim Soho is in the same boat. He made the call to draft Azzi first overall. He signed off on reuniting them. He built this roster. If it works, he's a genius. If it doesn't, he'll be looking for a new job. That's the reality of professional sports. Success is 1,000 fathers. Failure is an orphan. And right now, the Wings are walking a tightrope. But here's what gives me hope. This isn't Paige's first time dealing with impossible pressure. Remember, she was the most hyped high school recruit in women's basketball history. She walked into UConn with expectations that would have crushed most people, and she thrived. National Player of the Year as a freshman, carried the program through injuries and setbacks, became one of the most clutch players in college basketball. She didn't just handle pressure, she weaponized it. Azzi's the same way. Quiet but unshakable. The bigger the moment, the more locked in she gets. There's a reason she shot 44% from 3 in her senior year. That's not luck. That's ice water in your veins. So maybe, just maybe, the people doubting them have it backwards. Maybe the relationship isn't a weakness. Maybe it's a strength. Because when you're in the trenches with someone you trust completely, someone you've been through hell with, someone who knows your game as well as you do, that's not a distraction. That's an advantage. Think about the great duos in WNBA history. Sue Bird and Diana Taurasi, Maya Moore and Simone Augustus, Candace Parker and Nneka Ogwumike. What made them special wasn't just talent. It was trust. It was chemistry. It was knowing exactly where your teammate would be before they even moved. Paige and Azzi already have that. They built it at UConn. They've spent years reading each other on the court. Now they're bringing it to the pros. And if the Wings can figure out how to maximize that chemistry, if they can surround Paige and Azzi with the right role players, the right system, the right mentality, they won't just be good, they'll be dangerous. But there's one more thing we need to talk about. Because while everyone's been focused on Paige and Azzi, there's another player on this roster who's been suspiciously quiet through all of this. And she might be the most important piece of the puzzle. Arike Ogunbowale. Arike Ogunbowale has been watching all of this unfold in silence. And that's terrifying, because Arike isn't just another player on the Wings roster. She's a franchise. She's been carrying this team for years. She's the one who put Dallas basketball on her back when they were losing by 30 every night. She's also one of the most competitive players in the entire league. Two-time WNBA scoring champion. Clutch gene that's off the charts. The kind of player who takes every slight personally and turns it into fuel. So when the Wings drafted Fudd first overall, when they brought in another elite guard to a roster that already has two ball-dominant players, what did Arike think? Because here's what nobody's talking about in all the relationship drama. The Wings just created a potential chemistry nightmare. 3 guards who all need touches. 3 players who all expect to be primary options. 3 egos that have to somehow coexist in a lineup that only has one basketball. Paige Bueckers is used to being the focal point of an offense. That's how she won Rookie of the Year. That's how she's always played. Fudd is coming off a senior season where she was a go-to scorer for UConn. She's not used to being a role player. And Arike Ogunbowale, she's averaged over 20 points per game for 3 straight seasons. She's a veteran. She's paid her dues. She's earned her place. Now, all 3 of them have to figure out how to share. That's not a relationship problem. That's a basketball problem. And it's the kind of problem that destroys teams. Remember when Russell Westbrook joined the Lakers? 3 superstars, not enough shots to go around. Ego clashes, chemistry issues, total disaster. Or look at the Brooklyn Nets with Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, and James Harden. Talent everywhere. Dysfunction that imploded a championship contender. The WNBA has seen it too. When teams try to stack talent without thinking about fit, about roles, about hierarchy, it rarely ends well. So the question isn't whether Paige and can make their relationship work. The question is whether all 3 of them can make this basketball partnership work. And that's where Arike's silence becomes fascinating, because she could have spoken up during all the media frenzy. She could have weighed in on the relationship questions. She could have made this about herself. She didn't. Instead, she's been posting workout videos, training footage, pure basketball content, message received. While everyone else is talking, she's working. But there's something else in that silence. Something that veteran players recognize immediately. Arike is waiting to see how this plays out. Waiting to see if Paige and come in thinking they're going to take over her team. Waiting to see if the Wings are going to change their entire system to accommodate the new arrivals. And if they are, if the Wings start running everything through Paige and treating Arike like a supporting character on her own team, that's when things get interesting. Because Arike Ogunbowale didn't become one of the best players in the league by stepping aside for anyone. She's fought for everything she's achieved. She's been overlooked, undervalued, and counted out her entire career. She's not about to start taking a backseat now. But here's where the story takes an unexpected turn. The Wings might have actually solved the chemistry problem before it started. Think about the basketball for a second. Really think about it. Arike Ogunbowale is a rhythm scorer. She needs shots. She needs a ball in her hands. She needs to hunt offense. Paige Bueckers is a facilitator first. She can score, but she's happiest making her teammates better. Fudd is the perfect off-ball complement. She doesn't need plays called for her. She just needs space to shoot. That's not 3 players competing for the same role. That's 3 players whose games might actually mesh perfectly. Picture this lineup. Arike hunting offense, drawing doubles, creating chaos. Paige operating as a secondary ball handler, finding open teammates, creating for others. Spacing the floor, making defenses pay for helping off her. It's not redundant. It's complementary. The Wings could run motion offense with Arike and Paige as dual playmakers. They could stagger their minutes, so someone's always initiating offense. They could use as the ultimate release valve. When the play breaks down, find a shooter. Defensively, all 3 can switch. All 3 can guard multiple positions. All 3 are smart enough to make the right rotations. This isn't the Lakers trying to fit 3 ball-dominant stars together. This is potentially the most well-constructed offensive system in the WNBA. But, and this is crucial, only if everyone buys in, only if Arike accepts that she's going to have fewer touches, but more quality looks. Only if Paige embraces being a facilitator instead of trying to be the leading scorer. Only if stays patient when the ball doesn't come her way. That's not just basketball intelligence. That's emotional intelligence, maturity, sacrifice, and based on what we saw in that press conference, based on how Paige handled the media circus, based on how all three of them have carried themselves so far. There's reason to believe they can pull it off. But there's one more factor nobody's accounting for. The rest of the league isn't just going to sit back and watch Dallas build a super team. Every other franchise is making moves. Every coach is drawing up game plans. Every player is getting ready to prove that talent doesn't automatically equal championships. And some of them, they're targeting the wings specifically. Because when you become the favorite, when you get all the attention, when everyone's talking about your potential, you also become the biggest target in the league. The Wings haven't won anything yet, but they're about to find out what happens when everyone's gunning for you.